Do you think that Showdown should always have an event modifier in it? Today we're going to talk about what I think Supercell's opinion is, and as well as what my own opinion is. Hope you enjoy. Hello fellow brawlers, I'm KairosTime, and it is time to brawl. Today, like I said, we're going to talk about Showdown and whether or not it should always have an active modifier on it. Now, I definitely want your guys' opinions, but I also do want you to at least listen to Supercell's opinion, or at least what I think it is, as well as my opinion. And then as soon as you are done with that, make sure you go ahead and drop a comment in the section below explaining your opinion and what you think Supercell should do with event modifiers in Showdown. I don't respond to every comment, guys, but I do read through every single opinion, so it matters a lot. Then of course, guys, after you've done that, make sure you subscribe for future opinion videos on Brawl Stars just like this one. And before we get into this, I did want to give a little bit of a background regarding event modifiers and Showdown. Okay, so first of all, Showdown was originally going to have modifiers in it all the time. Why was I so excited? Because this was supposed to be the answer to putting an end to teaming in Showdown. Now, you may recall that just over a month ago, I kind of started the Stop the Spin initiative. If you weren't aware, it was kind of an initiative to try and put an end to teaming in Showdown. Why did I start that initiative? Well, it was because the vast majority of players actually dislike teaming in Showdown, yet it was happening throughout the majority of Showdown. We had over 20 YouTubers covering Spanish, Portuguese, French, and English audiences all over the world. We also had the top 11 band organizations, including 80 of the top bands, all showing their support. Additionally, guys, thousands of players made a pledge to stop teaming in Showdown. Now the question is, did it make a difference? In some parts of the ladder, it absolutely did, okay? Coach Corey ran 2 polls regarding how often people see teaming in Showdown, once before the initiative and once after the initiative. According to those 2 polls, there was a decrease in teaming, and honestly, I do think that teaming has actually decreased quite a bit in Showdown up until about 400 trophies. Past that, and especially past 500 trophies, it is still incredibly prevalent. The higher you get in trophies, guys, the more teaming you see. And eventually, guys, it gets to the point where you cannot win, or can't even like get close to winning, unless you team, because there are so many players doing it. So the question is, if most people prefer it without teaming, why do most people team up past that 500 trophy range? It's because even though it's not actually very strategic, it is by far the most effective strategy. Really, I mean, if everybody is teaming, it is the only option. You cannot not team. I mean, assuming you like your trophies, which typically people past 500 trophies really do like their trophies. Now, before you think I'm bashing on teamers, because I'm not, really though, you need to understand that I am not bashing teamers, okay? If they want to play it that way, then they can play that way. But do I think that Showdown would be more fun and a much better game experience if teaming did not exist? Absolutely. So then the question is it the sole responsibility of the players to get rid of teaming? I mean, it kind of was the community who created teaming and kind of jumped on board with it originally. That being said, while I do think it is incredibly honorable for the community to stand together against teaming like a lot of us have, ruining the competitive nature of a game mode is not our fault if teaming is inherently the best strategy in the game. The responsibility to fix that type of an issue lies within the game developers. Now, before you think the game developers are a big fan of teaming and that's why they haven't done anything about it, let's remind ourselves of what happened in the most recent Brawl talk, where Ryan actually talked about teaming in Showdown. Basically, he said that the team is okay with teaming being an option, but they do not like the fact that teaming is the only option. And when Ryan did describe the event modifiers in the Brawl talk, he kind of explained it as a way to try and possibly put an end to teaming in Showdown. And that was the plan, guys. Supercell was planning on making it so that event mods would always be active on Showdown so that it could put an end to teaming. But sometime between when the content creators were told that Showdown would always have a modifier on it and when the update actually hit, Supercell changed their mind. And now the event mods are only active in Showdown when it happens to rotate into that 4th event slot. Now, because there are only 5 days in the week where we do have that event slot up, and there are also 5 game modes. That's right, 5 game modes, 5 days a week. That means that Showdown gets an event mod only once during the week. One glorious day of team-free Showdown, guys. Personally, I don't think that's enough. but we'll get back to that later. So the first question that some people might have is, well, do the event mods actually prevent teaming? Well, Life Leech definitely makes it a highly unfavorable strategy. I also almost never saw teaming at all during the energy drink yesterday that was going on. Meteors specifically targets teams, so I'm sure that that will prevent teaming. And if any event mod will actually allow for teaming, it'll be RoboBoss, but even then, I still think we'll see teaming a lot less. So yeah, I definitely think the event mods are a very valid solution that is very natural. It basically just makes it so that teaming is no longer the best strategy. The best strategy is to use those event mods to your advantage. That gives those players that want to play without teaming in Showdown an actual option to be able to play it the way that they want to. 2 days ago, guys, I got to play Island Evasion on the live build for the first time ever. Now, I play tested this map a ton on the dev build, okay? It was by far my favorite map in Brawl Stars ever. It was just so much fun, okay? And on my first day of playing it live, it was filled with teamers. Just a bunch of 400 plus bows teaming until they could take everybody else out, and it was just them alone. It was very frustrating for non-bow players. I would even argue it probably wasn't even very fun for those bow players. And me, even when I was playing as a non-teaming bow, I did have some fun, at least at first, because the map is so amazing. But there is no way that even I, in all my skill, can win against 3 bows all targeting me because I wouldn't team with them. My favorite map on my favorite game mode. It got old really fast, guys. So here's the question, guys. Why would the dev team choose to not make mods permanent in Showdown? Originally, it was their plan, and then some way along the line, they changed their minds. I think probably the biggest reason why they might have done this is because it could be confusing to new players that just barely got into the game and just barely unlocked Showdown for the first time. I think that by far, this is the best argument for a mod-free Showdown. I mean, it's confusing. You just play the game. All you know so far is gem grab, where you just go in and pick up these gems. Then you go into Showdown, which is not only a 10-man free-for-all, there are power-ups going on, and you're trying to last as long as you possibly can. There's also poison. You're trying to hide in grass and things like that. And then all of a sudden, meteors start falling from the sky, or really insane power-ups pop up and you have no idea what to do with them. Maybe a bull picked up an energy drink and comes charging at you and you have no idea what even hit you. That could be frustrating, especially if you don't know what's going on. And the next reason why I do think that Supercell may have made this decision is because some people say that mods actually take away from the competitive side of the game. Basically, there's some randomness to the mods and whether or not they like land by you and stuff. So that kind of like makes it unfair for certain players. Now I can get on board with this at least a little bit, except for the fact that it's not really competitive right now. Showdown is not competitive once you get past 500 trophies. Like, we call it competitive Showdown because you're at the higher end of the trophies, but what is it really? It's a bunch of throwers gathering in the middle and picking off one player after the other until eventually it's just the throwers, and then they try and figure out who's going to win. It's a bunch of bows just picking a bunch of people off. There is definitely some skill involved with it, but ultimately it comes down to, did you pick a team-friendly brawler, and did you team? And if you didn't do those guys, you're gonna lose. That's not competitive. Okay, I think I need to calm down. I've already gotten a little heated. Didn't mean to do that, sorry guys. Now I don't know if that is Supercell's opinion, but I do know that some people think that. As far as another thing or reason why I think Supercell may not have done this is because it does make that 4th event tab make especially exclusive if there are not modifiers anywhere else. Okay, so now that I've covered some backstory as well as Supercell's possible reasoning behind not including event modifiers on Showdown, I'm gonna share my own opinion. And I kind of already have hinted towards that, but now you're gonna get the full blast of it. Now I ran a poll on my community channel asking people whether they thought that modifiers should be permanently on Showdown or not. And about 1/3 of the people that responded said that they would prefer Showdown as it is without event modifiers, and 2/3 of players actually shared that they thought that mods should always be on Showdown. I agree with the majority, guys. The 2/3 of players that think that mods should always be available on Showdown. I've already talked about this, guys, but Showdown with teaming just is not competitive, and really, it's not even very fun. Since pledging to not team, I have not teamed a single time in Showdown, guys. Now I have spun and quickly backstab the person. I've also ignored somebody who mistakenly thought I was teaming with them because they spun at me. That's just a strategy so that people don't target you specifically. But I have never actually teamed with somebody else. Now, since that time, I have had some incredibly fun matches where I did win against teamers. Basically, by either damaging them and letting them backstab each other, or because I was just so good. But guys, more times than not, the teamers just overwhelmed me and picked me off, and I ended up losing trophies, and so I just stopped playing Showdown. Even though it was my favorite game mode in Brawl Stars. I could have teamed and gained trophies easily, okay? I am a teamaholic, and I know how to do it. See, I'm actually pretty dang good at it. But I've also realized, guys, that giving into the addiction has not only ruined the fun of the game for me, but also for other players, guys. And so I have stopped. Now, I do think that the event mods in Showdown could be confusing for new players. That is a very valid concern. And what is the solution to this? Well, I have thought for a very long time that Brawl Stars needs a better tutorial. I know that they revamped the first one that they had, but even now, it still is lacking a lot of depth and does not explain so much of the game that new players frequently ask questions about. I get the same questions on my channel all of the time because the game does not explain it. Now, I do know that people do not like long and boring tutorials, guys, but this does not have to be the case, okay? The best tutorials are ones that make you feel like you're actually playing the game, not like you're actually just going through a tutorial. Brawl Stars needs a better tutorial that makes you feel like you are having fun playing the game while they're teaching you how to play it. I think some sort of tutorial where you do eventually unlock Showdown, and then there are event modifiers in there where the tutorial actually explains what they are and how you can play them, maybe even puts you in some situations where there are asteroids coming down, and it explains to you how to actually play the game. That would not only be fun, but would also get people really excited about the game. Just imagine you've been playing some gem grab and that's all you know in the game, okay? And then you unlock Showdown, you're like, wait, what is this? This is kind of fun. This is kind of cool. It teaches you the rules, and then it goes over event mods, and you're like, hey, this isn't just some small scale top-down version of Fortnite or PUBG. This is actually something totally different. I have to avoid meteors. I have to go for these super special power-ups. There's a giant robot that pops up in the middle of the place. I have to avoid it. I have to run away from it. All of this sounds incredibly fun and would definitely bring people back day after day after day to try out these new game modes. With just a little bit of explanation, I think that this could be incredibly fun for new players and would be a reason to continually bring them back to the game. So then there's the idea of making the 4th event slot really special, okay? Well, honestly, I think that it will still feel very special. I can imagine tons of new players that have been playing these event mods on Showdown and then have also been playing Gem Grab and Brawl Ball and Heist and Bounty, and then being like, why aren't there event mods on all of these other game modes? I love these game modes, they're super fun, and I love all these event mods. Why shouldn't we also have something like that in these game modes? And then, surprise, surprise, they do unlock that 4th event slot, and there are those special events. And then they're like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. There are essentially 16 new game modes within that 4th event slot, not to mention Robo Rumble and Boss Fight. Yeah, I think that sounds like a lot of fun. So yes, I do think that Showdown needs event modifiers in it all the time. Now, with all that being said, I do think that there is something that can be said about mods kind of taking away from some of the competitiveness of Showdown. Because let's be honest, let's say there's an energy drink that pops up next to the enemy brawler instead of next to you. Like, there's a little bit of a luck regarding how that happens. Now, over time, essentially, it'll cover all sorts of parts of the maps and things like that, but there's still a little bit of luck in there. First of all, Showdown already has that with where the boxes actually spawn, and sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you get unlucky with your spawn position. But second of all, I actually think that this creates a lot of more situations where you can actually show off your skill, where you as an experienced player know how to take advantage of those random things, whereas the unexperienced player does not know how to do it. So it actually increases your ability to outshine other players because of your experience. Is it kind of random? Yeah, it's kind of random, but the experienced player will benefit more than the non-experienced player will. So in a way, it will actually increase the skill cap to the game, despite its randomness. Anyways, guys, I've talked a lot about this. You know my feelings. You know what I think Supercell's feelings are. Now that you see both sides of things, I want to know what you think about it, okay, guys? Go ahead and put a comment in the section below letting me know what you think. And of course, make sure you subscribe for future videos where we discuss these hot topics within the Brawl Stars community. For now, guys, this is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in Brawl Stars.